One thing we say in the Navy, 1,440 minutes in a day. So if you look at the day as 1,440 minutes, in your mind, that tells you have a lot of time, right? 1,440 minutes is a lot of time. So just transitioning from time management to time ownership. Instead of managing your time, own your time.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Benrolinsblueprint podcast. I'm your host, Benrolins Awandem. Today's going to be an epic episode. I have a great guy in the building. He's an active Navy, and he's been in the military for about 14 years now. He's a father, he's an entrepreneur, and he's no other person than the one and only Mr. DeAndre Wilson. Hey, Mr. DeAndre, how you doing, man?
Let's go. Well, man, thanks for inviting me. Glad to be here.
Man, the pleasure's all mine, and I really appreciate you for coming into Benrolins Blueprint today. So how's life like, bro?
Man, I can't complain. 2024 is definitely going to be a great year. Just the vibe starting off, second month of the year, it's already been great. So.
Oh yeah, man, I like that. I like the energy already because sometimes when we start the year, we always have like a New Year resolution.
Yep.
And by February, you realize that oh no, you're not keeping the pace that you thought you're gonna keep. And just having that same energy in the month of February is awesome, man. I really appreciate you for giving us that insight. So how was life like growing up, my man?
Can't complain. Originally from Texas. I am a Dallas Cowboys fan, so
really,
very unpopular opinion, but started off with a 2-parent household. Parents got divorced when I was 14, and from that point on, just seeing, being in a single mom household, seeing how hard my mom worked, just instilled something in me, what hard work was, and then, eventually growing up, just seeing how hard my mom worked. Me as a man not wanting to ask her for nothing because she's already doing a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great to see your mom like being a hard worker. But I want to ask you, like seeing your mom and dad get a divorce, how did that affect you mentally as a kid?
To be honest, at the time I thought it was great. It was a very challenging relationship with my parents. I remember, there's certain amount of time, certain time period where I couldn't go to sleep without hearing them argue and yell at each other.
Oh,
so,
wow.
At that time I was like, I'm glad they're apart. But, as you get older, you start to realize how that affected you as far as, becoming an adult. Things we think that we didn't need, it's actually something that we needed as children. So I would say, me looking back now, I definitely miss that presence of a man in the house at the most important time of my life, 14, 16, 17, 18. As I'm becoming a man is when I lost a man in my household.
Oh, wow.
So it definitely, allowed me to almost go down the wrong path, So, yeah.
Yeah, got you. I can really understand, sometimes just having that father figure is important. Like he might not be like 100% at his job, but at the end of the day, you have your dad with you, and sometimes it's comforting, especially when you're a kid growing up.
Yeah.
So, like, did you see your dad as a role model, or no, he was not?
Growing up, I was one of those kids. I'm the youngest of 3, so I was one of those kids that always wanted to go with my dad. I played sports growing up, and he was my number one fan. So he always, since I was a kid, every time I got in trouble, he was like, you know why I got in trouble? It's because you weren't being a leader. You were being a follower. That's why I got in trouble.
Oh, wow.
So just instilling that leadership in me very young and, being my number one fan, that's something that a child definitely needs. So
Oh, yeah, that's true, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need someone who's going to like lift you up when you're down. And if your dad is doing that, that's pretty incredible. And as a kid, seeing your dad saying some inspirational word to you, it means more than anybody else in the world. Man, I appreciate you for giving that insight. So when you were growing up as a kid, what was your aspiration? What was your dream?
I thought I was going to the NBA.
Oh, really?
Yep, I wanted to be Michael Jordan when I was growing up.
And then what happened, bro?
Parents got divorced. I switched schools. I was playing basketball, but I never did any extracurricular basketball. I only played at school, so I never did any leagues or anything like that outside of school. So that kind of hurt me a little bit. And then, parents getting divorced, switching schools, having all your friends here, knowing the coaches over here, then going to a completely different school. So I ended up switching schools, not liking the coach at the other school, being childish, not listening. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start playing football. The state of Texas is real big on football. So, I was like, you know what? I'm going to start playing football. End up not getting the position I wanted, not being able to play on varsity. So, quitting football as well.
Oh, you're not playing football as well. Wow, man, that's a pretty interesting story.
Yeah.
So when you stopped playing football, what were you thinking at that point? Were you just like, oh, I'm done with being a sport athlete. I want to do something else with my future?
Yeah, definitely. At that point in my life, I was like, you know what, it's time to start making money.
Oh.
Mom is working long hours, not struggling, but, just working long hours, seeing her all work, seeing her tired. I was like, it's time for me to start making money. So that's what I did.
Yeah, so you just had to just find anything that's going to make you money.
Yep.
But the legal way, though.
Legally.
Yeah, legally. I like that. So after you started like hustling, did you go to college or no?
No, I actually was supposed to go to college.
Yeah.
I got accepted to college in Houston called Texas Southern University.
Yeah.
I was supposed to go. I ended up not going. I received all the college paperwork.
Yeah.
It was overwhelming. Didn't know how to fill it out. Didn't ask for help. So I ended up not attending college.
Oh, you never attended college?
Nope.
And then how did you end up in uniform?
So after high school, after I decided, I wanted to get money, I started going down the wrong path.
Yeah.
Started hanging out with, people in the neighborhood that weren't doing, the right things.
Yeah.
So my mom actually seen this, and one day she just was like, "Hey, let's go." So about 9 a.m., I'm going with my mom. I think I'm about to go help her do some groceries or something, help her grocery shop. And she just drops me off at the recruiting station. I'm like, what are we doing here? She was like, just go inside, you'll see. So drops me off at the recruiting station. I'm talking to the recruiter. Recruiter is like, what's your number one goal in life right now? I was like, to make money. He was like, oh, that's it? I got you. Signed up right there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So after you just said that, like, oh man, you're in the right path right there.
Definitely.
So when you joined the Navy, what was some of the initial shock you got?
So joining like how I did, where I knew nothing about the Navy, had no intention of joining. I was just shocked, like seeing going to my first ship, like seeing how big it is.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm like, what did I get myself into? But before that, just like going to boot camp, I learned how to swim in boot camp. So just dealing with that struggle and just being diverse. Before then, I traveled a lot, but I've only lived in Texas. So like going to boot camp, seeing people from Kentucky, Arizona, California, New York, and just seeing how, different people, talk and communicate and operate differently than what I'm used to. It was very, very eye-opening for sure.
Oh, wow, man. I mean, I've never been in the military before, so I don't really know how everything goes over there. But how was training? Did training like teach you discipline? Because I had because I had what's his name, Robert. He was in the military for years too. When he came here, he was like, the training sometimes is hard and it teaches you self-discipline. So how is discipline in the Navy?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Especially it starts at boot camp, right? What they do is they pretty much everything they're gonna reteach you the Navy way.
Oh,
As far as like how you walk, how you talk, the way you fold your clothes, the way you get dressed. It builds like a team camaraderie. And, it takes away that old way of thinking and gives you a new way to think.
Oh, wow.
So it definitely builds discipline. And then as soon as you get, to your first station, whether it's a ship or shore, then you start to learn your job. And that's really it's like a child almost, a child being like a sponge. As soon as you get to your first station, you're like a sponge. So that's either a sponge for good vibes or a sponge for bad vibes.
So what are some of the most difficult challenges you face as a Navy personnel?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I would say my early days in the Navy, right?
Yeah.
Because of where I came from in Texas, just separating myself from my old self, right? When I first joined, I had this persona of, I want to join the Navy, but I still want to stay relevant to my people that's from Texas.
Yeah.
So it kind of left me with a 1 foot in, 1 foot out mentality. So learning that the Navy is a benefit and I don't owe anybody anything, right? I don't have to prove myself to them because I'm not living there or anything like that. I chose this path in the Navy, so I need to take advantage of the Navy. I would say that, for sure.
Oh, wow. So I'm going to assume that after joining the Navy, you became a better person.
Yes.
You had the better version of yourself.
Yes.
So would you say this present version of yourself is the version that you've always dreamed of?
I would say I still have work to do, for sure. I'm definitely have been progressing, though.
Yeah.
For sure. I wouldn't even say it's the Navy. I would just say it was life in general. Going through different experiences. As long as you learn from things that you go through, I think you'll grow.
Wow, that's a good insight coming from Mr. Wilson. So, hey, Mr. Wilson, which other part of the world have you been stationed in, or were you just stationed in all the United States of America?
No, so originally started in Florida,
Yeah.
in a place called Mayport, Florida. Then I went over to Jacksonville, which is also near Mayport, about 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
And then I went over to Japan, which I spent 4 years in Japan, which was a great experience, seeing a different culture, being away from America, just seeing the way a different country operates.
So how was life like in Japan?
It is so different, bro. When I tell you, I can drop my phone on the ground, come back 2 days later, and the phone still be in the same spot.
Wow.
I swear.
Damn.
It's so different.
Oh, my God. I mean, it's safe out there.
Yeah, it's extremely safe. The people extremely helpful, mind their business. I feel more judgment in America than I do in Japan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, man. I mean, those are some of the key components of being like a really good human being. Just having that sense of empathy.
Yeah.
And the understanding and know that, we are in this together, not just being yourself. So being in Japan, what were some of the lessons you learned being in another country? And what was some of the initial shock when you got there? You were like, oh, wow, is this for real?
Well, the first initial shock was just going out to the club, seeing how ratchet it is. I'm like, what? y'all play this rap music here too? I was like, oh, that's crazy. Just going out in Tokyo, seeing that, I'm like, man, they.
Oh wow, they be vibing.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then just learning from the culture.
Yeah.
My personal opinion is that when you live outside the country, you love America and you find something to hate about America too. You're like, man, I hate that we don't do this in America.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you miss the convenience and the freedom that you have in America.
Yeah.
So I would say one of the things I learned is just, embracing their culture, taking things that they do that's good and trying to bring that to America, like patience. Like in Japan, I was the fastest driver over there. No one else is driving over the speed limit but me. I get back to America and I'm the slowest driver.
So you're the fastest driver over there. Were there speed tickets?
No, so there's no cops, no speeding tickets. It's
Really?
literally
No speed limit.
There's a speed limit, but
Yeah.
you rarely get pulled over.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
you have to be doing some crazy stuff to get pulled over in Japan.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
man! I mean, that's a good, really great experience, though. And what were some of the challenges you faced being in another country?
The language, I would say that's about it. But I'm very open minded, so my goal was to learn, see as much as I could while I was out there.
So how are you communicating though?
Through English, through Google Translate, learn a little bit of Japanese,
Yeah, what were some of the funniest moments you had, like trying to translate?
I would say just like just going into like a restaurant or something, and you're like, because me, I don't eat dairy, so
Yeah.
everything I order is like no cheese. So trying to just communicate no cheese was like the worst thing in the world.
Oh wow, man, that's great.
Yeah.
So when you left Japan, you came back to America, right?
Yep.
So was it straight to Maryland or DC?
Yep, straight.
Yeah.
Straight to DC.
Oh, straight to DC. So when you got to DC, were you like, hey, now I got to start like redirecting calls and taking a different pace for my life?
Yeah.
Was that a decision?
Yeah. So actually, I was in Japan during COVID.
Yeah.
So I did make a decision, right? Seeing their culture struggle during COVID.
Yeah.
And then me being on social media, seeing Americans, become millionaires during COVID.
Yeah.
In my head, I was like, man, there's something wrong. I've been living in this country for how long, and I haven't become a millionaire yet. So, while I was in Japan, I was, writing down things, ways to make extra income, ways to make passive income, ways to make multiple streams of income. And then when I came back, that's what my mind was set on.
Oh, wow. Thank you for your service, by the way. I was supposed to say this
Oh,
earlier.
yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And happy Black History Month.
Yeah, thank you too, man. Thank you. Happy Black History Month to you as well. So, like, I've not been in the military before, and people always say in the military, there's this like togetherness, this sense of unity.
Yeah.
So, how did you like feel about that? Or is that true, or is that false?
No, that's 100% true. Just because you're like deployed, and these are the only people that you see, the only people that you talk to.
Yeah.
And this is the only job where, one of the only jobs in the world where if I don't do my job right, then someone will get killed.
Oh yeah.
Right. So just having that, it brings you closer to people. It really does. And like those people become your family. Because you work with them so much, you see them so much, they become family.
Oh wow, yeah, I can attest to that because sometimes if you get into the battlefront and you don't do your job, that person is gone.
Yeah.
And not only that person, you might even go as well.
Yeah.
So have you had any experience like near-death experience?
I wouldn't say near death. I've had some experiences where, we did an exercise where we extracted some people. It was very similar to that one movie where the ship was taken.
Yeah.
Very similar to that, where we were in a lot of danger. I also like been in a lot of danger, but not. I never felt like my life was on the line. Yeah.
Okay, man. I really appreciate that. Luckily, you're still alive, man. Yeah. Like one of the things that takes some people out of like going to active duty or being in the military is because they're scared they're gonna die. So, what are some of the benefits of being in the Navy?
Oh, that is a good question. I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah.
Because there's so many negative opinions about the military, right?
Yeah.
But the first benefit is you get to travel the world.
Yeah.
Who's to say I ever would have been to Japan if I never would have joined the military? And not even going to Japan, like spend 4 years over there. So traveling is one. The benefit of free education.
Oh, yeah.
I have associate's degree, bachelor's degree, and a master's degree.
Oh, wow.
All paid for by the Navy.
That's great.
No student loans, no nothing.
That's really awesome.
Master's degree. So that, and just meeting friends that become family. I was actually talking about, or someone was talking about this last week, how like men, like grown men, they don't make a lot of friends because just the persona of just being a man. But in the military, you make friends.
Yeah.
It's not even like a question. You make friends that become family.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's a really good thing. Sometimes most people, they don't really have that communication skills.
Yeah.
And I think being in the military, sometimes you have to step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And stepping out of your comfort zone is one thing that we as people we're not in the active service, we think, it's sometimes impossible to do. Yeah. But in the military, discipline. And I really appreciate you for giving us that valuable insight. So I want to ask you, are you respected more as a Navy or a military personnel?
I would say yes, especially in America, right? When I'm in uniform, I definitely get treated differently than when I'm in civilian clothes or street clothes.
Really?
It's a noticeable difference.
So you like that?
I do, but I also don't like it because it's like I'm the same person. So why?
Why do you treat me differently
Yeah.
when I put on the uniform?
Exactly. Yeah.
Got you. Yeah, man. I mean, sometimes we really appreciate people like you for doing what you do because it takes a certain level of courage and determination and hard work to become a U.S. military or Navy, whatever you want to call it. But I appreciate you because, sometimes we have a different perception. And I'm glad you pointed out the benefits because sometimes people got to look at the benefit, not only the disadvantages of being in the United States Navy or military. So let's move from the military. You started doing something concerning entrepreneurship.
Yep.
Can you walk us through that experience and what led to that moment?
Yep. So just being in Japan, seeing their culture, when I came back to America, I said, I want to do this. So when I initially came back, I started a vending machine business. I bought a car, put my car on Turo for some passive income. And throughout that process, trying to market my vending machines and find locations, the struggle of that, I ran into someone that was in financial services.
Yeah.
And they like, hey, come out. There's plenty of things that, that we don't know is about money that we weren't taught, which is true. Like there's no finance class in high school or, learn how to budget your money in high school, learn how to make money class in high school.
Yeah.
So I went out to the financial workshop, learned so much stuff that I never even knew. It was like, this is something that I see myself doing, just to create an impact with my community. Because if I don't know it, my family doesn't know it.
Yeah.
So just one person in the family learning this information could change the whole family.
Yeah. So do you think financial literacy is one thing that we as like Black people, our community got to like embrace as a whole?
Yeah, definitely. Because I don't know, I just feel as though sometimes as, Black people, we don't like to listen to other Black people. So we are more skeptical with our own, race than we are with another race. So if you have a white financial advisor, you'll listen to him. But if you have
a Black one, you're like, no, this guy don't know what he's doing.
Exactly, yeah.
I can attest because that's true though. Sometimes we're like, oh, he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Remember my brother? Nah, I don't trust him.
Yeah,
he's
true.
not true.
Which is crazy. It's crazy.
So we got to start embracing our own and supporting our own. That's where we're gonna grow. We got to support one another. And one thing I can say is sometimes we as Black folks, we just want to be better ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't want to like share the benefits to everybody or like tell them like, hey, you can come over here. Over here, there's a lot of success. There's a lot of light.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh no, how can I just better myself? And then I walk around the community and say, I'm the boss. And there's no other person like me. So I appreciate you. And I know the financial industry, you got to spread the word out.
Yeah, definitely.
So what are some of the challenges you face being in the financial industry?
Just closed-minded people.
Yeah.
What I say is, let's just talk about Black people in general, right?
Yeah.
We spend money on Gucci, Louis, Hennessy, right?
Yeah.
Who owns this, right? We don't even know. A lot of people don't even know who owns that,
yes,
right? But if your brother has their own drink, you won't support it.
That's true.
But you're supporting somebody that doesn't even support, African American culture. So I would say us sticking together.
Yeah.
Stop being so closed-minded. And support doesn't always mean spend money.
Yeah.
You can repost, a post on social media. That's support. You can like a post on social media. That's support.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So I would say just redefining the word support. Just, showing up to an event is support. You don't have to always spend money to support someone.
And this is Black History Month. And this is a month where we try to reflect on our history as Black people. And I appreciate you for bringing that up because if we don't support one another, how are we going to grow? Yeah. And one thing is most Black people out there, or some of them, they go out and start saying some crazy things like, hey, this guy. They keep pointing fingers. Yeah. They don't step back to sit down like, hey, what's going on here? And how can I how can I create an impact to my community? Not just my community, but the world as a whole. Yeah. We don't think that way. We just think like, hey, how can I just go to a club and get lit? And that's it. We just want to enjoy the moment. Just enjoy. But sometimes it's good to think about the future. Because if you're not thinking about the future, how are your kids going to go? And you got to think about generational wealth, and that's something that some people don't even like care about. So, like joining the financial industry, would you say that changed your perception about money?
Yes, 100%.
Really?
Not only just making money, because there's not a problem in America with making money.
Yeah.
People make money doing all types of stuff, selling things on Amazon, Uber, Lyft, DoorDash. People find a way to make money.
Yeah.
It's about what you do with your money after you make it. Is your money working for you, or are you wasting your time to work for money, right? So I would say it definitely changed my perspective 100%. And not knowing where to save money, but where to invest it as well, right? Because if you make $1 million and then you spend $1 million, you're broke.
Yeah, you're really broke. Yeah.
So it's not about making money. It's about how you spend it, how you save it, and how you invest it.
So will you say you're more of an investor now than before?
Yeah, definitely.
Really? So you, and before I'm going to come back to you, but I want to get something straight. You know, sometimes most people, they're just like, hey, I have a house. My house is the most important asset I have. And they don't want to think about anything. How can I get involved in any financial? How can I get involved in the financial industry or something else? You don't have to be in the financial industry. Just find something that you can do that you know that can improve you in one way or the other. And if you can create something that's going to be valuable for one person. How can you improve that thing and share it to like 10 different people, 100 people, 1,000 people? And that's how you grow slowly but surely, and you're going to get there. But if you're just thinking like, hey, these financial people, they're just like scammers and it's too good to be true, all those kind of things, man, there's a lot of hard work. Can you attest to that?
Definitely hard work. No goal that you're going to set that comes without sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's going to be worth it.
Yeah.
Right. If your goal doesn't require you to do work, then it's not a real goal.
It's not a real goal. And would you say like there's more hard work in the financial industry than in the military?
I would say to be successful requires hard work, no matter what industry you're in. It just depends on what you consider hard. A lot of people are, antisocial. They don't like talking to people. They might consider that hard.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people don't want to do physical labor. They might consider that hard. So it just depends on what your perception of hard is. But every industry requires some type of hard work.
Got you. So where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
Next 10 years, I will be retired from the military.
Yeah.
I'm getting paid the rest of my life by the government. Also will be a multimillionaire from financial services. My son will be set for life, generational wealth. I'll be the first millionaire in my family. And just continue to give back to the community. Once I make it, it's not about me. It's about who can I bring with me at that point. So just giving back to the community.
So what is one of your greatest dream for your Black community?
That is a good question. I've been to jail before. So one of my goals is to create a program for when people go to jail and get out, I'm allowing them to find a job. Because there's a lot of people, and I don't know the number off the top of my head. I want to say 60% of people that go to jail, they end up going back. So I want to create a program where, give them a set of, suit and tie, free suit and tie, some free classes so they can practice going through a interview and, allowing them the opportunity to get a job after they get out.
You just mentioned something. You've been to jail before. Like,
Yes.
what happened? Can you walk us through that?
So before the Navy, right?
Yeah.
I was involved in some extracurricular activities. So I did have a case before the Navy. Yeah.
Wow. Man, I didn't see that coming. Man, but that's a good plan, and that's a good dream, and I think that's going to help a lot of people. Sometimes people who are in jail, when they get out of jail, they think, oh, there's nothing that I can do. I'm an ex-convict. And a lot of people don't want to hire an ex-convict. So they just think like, oh, I just got to go back to the same old thing. And then before you realize, 2 months later, they're back to the same place.
Yep.
So if you can like do something, it's going to be kind of like a rehab, some form of that.
Yeah.
Just to like say, hey, man, you're welcome back to society. You can just think like normal people, regular people, and you never know where the sky is going to be for you.
Yeah.
The sky might just be your starting point, and just believe in your dream, bro, and go. So I really appreciate you for giving us that insight. Now, looking backward, right? If there was one this in experience you could wipe away from all your experiences, what would that be?
That's a tough question. The first answer that comes to my head is getting married when I got married. I would say that would be, I would look back and tell myself to not do that.
Oh, wow. So you just brought up that. Let's talk about it. So what happened?
So, relationships started good, but, being in the military is definitely tough.
Yeah.
So, the relationship ended up dissolving, leading to divorce. So I don't feel like it was a waste of my time, but I definitely feel like I could have did it better.
Yeah.
Just like finances, in the Black community, we don't talk about marriage at all.
Yeah.
And one thing you don't realize is when you're getting married to a person, they have a perception of marriage in their head, and you have a perception of marriage in your head. And if y'all don't come together and figure out what that vision is, that each of you have, and make it one vision, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that we have to deal with. Because sometimes when someone is going to be thinking about, when you approach a lady, right, you have this picture in your mind of how, she's going to be perfect all the time. She's going to be sunshine and rainbow, the makeup on and stuff. But sometimes when you wake up in the morning, you're like, damn, is this what I got married to? You're going to ask yourself that question so many times, and you got to be ready for that. So you got to think about, this person is never going to be like this all the time. There are going to be a lot of changes. Are you ready to adapt to those changes? And how well prepared are you to take out how she's going to, like, the mood swings?
Yeah. The
mood swings are going to come. So are you going to tell me that communication was one of the key factors that led to the downfall?
Definitely communication. And I would say blind expectations as well.
Yeah.
Putting expectations on a person and they have no idea that you have expectations on them. I would say those two things were the keys.
So did love come into play?
Yeah, but love, you can't have a relationship with just love. You have to have communication. You have to have understanding.
I'm glad you said that, because I've said this on previous episode. I'm like, love does not keep a relationship together.
Correct.
I said that. I'm like, there are only 3 things that keep a relationship together, and that is knowledge, understanding, and wisdom.
Okay.
Without those 3 things, it can never work, because you got to have the right information first.
Yeah.
And when you have the right information, you have to comprehend. That's understand that information. And then application is the wisdom. So if you don't have those 3 things, when it comes to marriage or any relationship, it's really tough, because now if you can't communicate with a person, how are you going to know if the person is doing okay or not?
Yeah.
You just like, you assume. And when you assume today, tomorrow you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You'll be like, the person is sitting down like, he don't even care about me. He doesn't even care about my feelings or anything.
Yeah.
And I'm here trying my best to make him happy and stuff like that. So I think communication is really one of those aspects that bring people together. And you got to understand the needs of the other person.
Yeah.
Because we have to, like, feed into each other's needs.
Yeah.
And make sure you happy, I'm happy. It's not all about, like, me, myself, like, how can I better myself? And then you disregard the other person. Because if you do that, bam, man, it's not going to be a good thing, bro.
And one thing that people don't realize either is, people change.
Yeah.
So you have a relationship, and your relationship grows, and you have to grow with the relationship. The person changes. The person that you married is not going to be the same person 20 years later. And if they are the same person, you probably don't want to be with that person because they haven't evolved at all.
Yeah, and that's true. That's a really good point, because, sometimes people want people to stay the same, because it's just like, I like this person the way she is. I like this guy the way he is.
Facts.
I don't want her to be this or that. And one thing is because, like, sometimes we don't improve ourselves. And that's a problem. We don't improve ourselves.
Yeah.
We just want to remain at the same level because we're thinking like, hey, I don't know how it's going to be up front. I don't know. But the thing is, life is so uncertain. If life was so certain, like, there's not going to be a reason why you want to wake up in the morning. The reason why we feel alive is because, like, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that makes you feel confident. And it's going to be, sometimes it might be certain, sometimes uncertainty. And that's what makes us feel unique and different in a way, because you understand that there are going to be some challenges, there are going to be some failures, there are going to be some setbacks. But how do you come back from those setbacks stronger and better? That's going to determine whether you're a real human being or not.
Yeah.
Or you're just someone who's just joking around. Oh, tomorrow is going to be the way it is. I don't care about anything. I don't want to improve myself. And if you don't improve yourself, like, you're going to get into tomorrow and like, man, boy, oh boy, what am I going to do today? And you're not even sure of what you're going to do. So I really appreciate you for saying that. So now you're in the financial industry and I'm going to say you're doing great. And balancing that schedule is kind of tough. So what's your secret? How you doing it, bro?
One thing we say in the Navy, 1,440 minutes in a day. Right. So if you look at the day as 1,440 minutes, in your mind, that tells you have a lot of time, right? 1,440 minutes is a lot of time. So just transitioning from time management to time ownership. Instead of managing your time, own your time.
Really? Wow, man, that's some profound statement right there. Yeah, from time management to time ownership, man.
Yes.
That's really big, because sometimes personally, I'm really struggling to like really manage my time effectively.
Yeah.
It's a gradual process, but I think I'm getting there slowly. But it's really something that each and everyone should like really sit down and focus on. Like, hey, that I'm really planning your day out, and like, I'm gonna do this at this time, I'm gonna do this at the time. It might not like work out 100%, but at least you're doing something, and you gotta be committed to that thing. And when you own your time, you take control. And another thing is like, there's a lot of distraction, and those distractions sometimes just take you off guard. And another major distraction might be social media. People don't use social media as a tool. Now social media use us as a tool.
Definitely.
And that's a problem.
Yeah.
So you got to when you take ownership of your time, like, hey, I cannot be easily distracted by this thing. I use this thing doesn't use me.
Yeah.
So I have to use it as a tool. And then that way you're going to understand that, oh, you really have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you're telling someone, especially in the financial industry, you're trying to bring someone over like, hey, can you come? There's a lot of light over here. You're like, man, I don't have time. Man, you got a lot of time.
Yeah.
If you give me your schedule, and you're going to realize that, man, you have like more time than you can even imagine. And there's some time that just goes by that you don't really do something effective.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, I just wasted 5 hours. What was I doing? I don't know. So that's a really good thing, like taking ownership of your own time, man. I really appreciate you. So if I were to say, hey, Mr. DeAndre Wilson, describe yourself now, what are you going to tell me?
What will I tell you? That's a good question. And you come in with some good questions. Appreciate it. What would I say?
Yeah.
I would say focused, father, driven, goal oriented.
Yeah.
Those are the 4 things I would say.
Yeah, that's really, really important. And those are some really good bullets to have, man. Yeah. And I appreciate you for giving us that insight. Now I'm going to ask you this. So did your dad divorce with your mom?
Yes.
Put something in your mind that, hey, I got to be with my son no matter what?
I would say that experience did. That is something that I think about. Yeah. My father actually passed away, so he didn't get to meet my son. So one of my goals in life is to be alive when my son has children. So that means I have to take care of myself now, like eat the right things, drink the right things. So things like that, just taking care of myself, because that's something that I truly want. That's one of my goals, to be alive when my son has children.
Yeah. So how is that relationship now with your son, having known that, oh, you were in the point of your life, like you didn't have a father figure? So how's your relationship with your son? Do you really make sure that he understands that, hey, no matter what happens, son, I got your back? Yeah,
definitely. My job is to teach him not only how to be a man, but how to be a good person. Yeah. And just teach him everything that I know and everything that I did not know. So that's my job. A lot of people want to give their children things that they didn't have. I want to teach my son things that I didn't know. Just make him, a better person. Like, I don't really care about the materialistic stuff. It's all about knowledge and, actually becoming a man.
So what you just said now is really good, because instilling in your son the power of being a good human being is more than anything in the world. And I'm going to say that if you look at the landscape in our black community, you're going to realize the dad are not home. And that's a problem. Because now these kids are growing up, they don't really know what the future holds for them. And they're just doing anything just to fit into society. They're going to just like hang out with anybody because, hey, I didn't have a dad, I didn't have a mom. And so you can't blame, sometimes you can't really blame them because they're sometimes the victims of circumstance. But now we have to like sit down and start having some real conversation with ourselves and like, hey, how can we improve our community? How can we take our community to the next level? And fatherhood is a really great thing. And being a father is something that we all got to sit down and say, if you're not ready for that responsibility, do not get there.
Yeah.
Don't put the child into like a horrible situation where the child is going to grow up and start thinking and asking themselves questions. Why did I come into this world?
Yeah.
It should be a blessing to be here, not the other way around.
Yeah.
So what would you say to people who just like spreading the words around, spreading the kids around without no responsibility?
So actually, I heard a quote this weekend from Matt Zapala. He said, "America is underfathered and overmothered," and that saying just right there, just like it's true. There's mothers doing too much and fathers not doing enough. So they just need to step up. Me personally, I don't understand why you would create a child and not want to be there.
That's true.
Because I guess I can say, you really don't know what love is until you have a child.
So would you say like you really appreciate more after you had a son?
Yeah. I actually wasn't like, when they give birth and people are like, oh, my life changed. So my life did not change when he came out. It was the process of seeing him grow that changed my life. Like just seeing him go from a baby to a toddler to, pre-K. I'm like, man, this is amazing. Like being a father.
Wow, that's a really good thing to experience. Yeah. I hope I'm gonna experience that one day, man. Man, I appreciate you've been landing some really good points today, and I really appreciate you for giving us that insight. And now I want to move on to something which I think is really important for us, and that is hope. So, do you believe that you're going to find the perfect person for you in future?
Yes.
Really?
God has already found her.
Oh, already found her.
Yeah, already found her.
Oh, so we're just waiting for the confirmation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It may or may not be confirmed.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I believe it will be confirmed, man. I really appreciate that. And if there's one message that you want to give to the black community, what would that be?
Let's come together. The black culture is one of the most popular cultures. Everyone wants to be part of the black culture, right? What that means is that we're trendsetters and we set the stage. So if we come together and decide to, make a change, we can do anything. Like we really run culture in this country.
Yeah, and that's 100% true. Like if you see hip hop, like even Hollywood, like most of the stuff, black people. And the thing is, we don't own it.
Yeah.
We don't own it.
Yeah.
So we got to start thinking about ownership.
Ownership, for
How
sure.
can we own this thing? Because even a musician, when you're singing and you have a record label come over, you're going to take like everything. And they give you something like, and then the problem is lack of financial wisdom. You start buying things you can't afford.
Yeah.
Buying things to impress people who don't even doesn't care about you. And in the long run, you realize you're broke again.
Yeah.
So I think like financial literacy is one of the things that we as black people got to embrace and see how we can improve ourselves.
Yeah.
Because if you're not financially free, it's going to be hard for you to impact your brother or impact your son, impact your daughter, or like just make an impact in your community. So financial wisdom should be one of our like top things in everybody's mind. It got to be the top thing in everyone's mind. And when you're financially free, you realize that, oh, there are a lot of things I can do now, not just for my family, but impacting the world.
Yeah.
And you start thinking about, you have the world view now. But if you don't even have that insight in the first place, you're not even going to think about the world.
Yeah.
You're just going to be like, damn, screw everybody. What am I going to eat tomorrow? And you're just going to be like that,
Yeah.
paycheck to paycheck, paycheck to paycheck. And you wonder why the world is so tough. It's because you're not improving yourself. So I really appreciate you for giving us that insight. If someone walk up to you, let's just say you're getting a coffee at Starbucks, and this kid just happened to walk up to you and like, hey, Mr. DeAndre, I listened to your podcast and I was really inspired by your life story. But I want to ask you this question. You did not, at some point in your life, you did not have a father figure, and now you're a better man. What are you going to tell me to do? I don't have a father in my life right now, and I'm really struggling. So I've been involved in some illegal activities. I've gone to jail, and I'm out now. So I want to get some insightful wisdom from you. What are you going to tell me to do at this point in my life? What are you going to say to that person?
I would say first that you need to know the power of your choices and the power of your decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Every choice, every decision has a pro and has a con.
Yeah.
As long as you take the time to think about that before you make any decision, you're more than likely going to make the better decision, right? And then second thing, the choices and decisions that you make, they affect more than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So if you only have a mother in the household, every choice you make, think about how it affects your mother.
That's true. That's true, man. Oh, man, you're so seasoned. you're so seasoned, bro. I don't know if you got all this wisdom from being in the Navy, life experience. So I really appreciate you, man. We're wrapping up now. Is there anything that you want us to know?
First, I want to say I appreciate you in this podcast, for sure.
Yeah.
But no, if you have a goal, if you have a dream, you can achieve it. Too many times in America, we think too small.
Yeah.
There's no way that anybody in America should not be a millionaire. There's people that come to this country that don't even know the language, learn language, become millionaires.
Yeah.
Right? So if you have a dream, you can achieve it. Speak it, believe it, receive it.
That's the episode right there. Yeah, man. Oh my God, that's some like wonderful wisdom coming from you, and I really appreciate you for saying that. And one thing, would you say something to my audience before we wrap up?
Yes. If you have the opportunity to follow Benrolins IG, go and follow him. You have a voice too. You have a story too. So, come tell your story on this podcast.
Oh, and we're going to write it for you. And make sure you comment, like, and share. Hey, guys, please, you heard Mr. DeAndre. He's been so seasoned. He's so seasoned. And he has shared a lot of insightful wisdom with all of us. I hope you were taking notes. I was taking some notes in my mind. When we're done with this, I got to start writing them all right. And make sure I don't lose out, because he's been so awesome just sitting with this guy. I really appreciate him for coming to share his insightful wisdom with all of us. And I hope you gain some valuable insight, wisdom, and understanding from his story. And I know you're going to improve yourself drastically just because he is awesome. So I appreciate you guys for always tuning in to Benrolins Blueprint. And thank you for your support. And make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much. This episode comes to an end. Thank you for tuning in to Benrolins Blueprint Podcast.